What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode here, the Side Guys Football Forum. I'm one of your co-hosts on the side, joined as always by my good friend, my good buddy, the other half of the Side Guys, Tad the Side. And Tad, it's crazy. I mean, we are recording on a Sunday. We're gonna have live football, like regular season football that counts. I think that's
the key part right there.
Yeah, football that counts in a matter of 4 days. There you go. Got it on screen there. 4 days.
Well,
it's a little cut off.
No, it's all right. Yeah. No, it's the mirror thing, and I'm with you, buddy.
Yeah. 4 days. Like, I mean, it's just insane that we're actually close to kickoff happening, close to, fantasy football season, like officially being underway too. Like, I mean, the drafts are now hopefully over. Actually, as we're recording, Tad, we're going to be having our LAFB Networks
T-minus 3 hours
fantasy draft tonight. So that's going to be happening in a couple hours as well. So, I mean, that will be the, this is like the final weekend for fantasy drafts to be happening. But I mean, yeah, it's exciting times. We're almost there, Tad. We're almost there.
We're so close. We're so close, especially after yesterday. Like you said, we're recording on a Sunday. Yesterday, my TCU Horned Frogs, for lack of a better word, absolutely shit the bed. So I need NFL football to give me happiness. Because, good God, I take way too much emotional investment from this sport. So I need the Indianapolis Colts to be good. Jonathan Taylor, please come back. By the way, fun fact, but I almost wore it during the episode. In fact, I actually may come go get it at some point during this episode. My friends did give me a Jonathan Taylor jersey. Nice. So Jonathan Taylor, please don't leave. I really like that jersey. It's really cool. But
I think you should wear it during our next episode. We're going to be doing a quick teaser here for people tuning in. We're going to be doing our season preview in our next episode. So I think that's probably more appropriate.
Just a couple days away. There we go.
Exactly.
All right, we'll do that.
Be doing that. So I think that's more appropriate there.
Yes. Regardless, the preseason is now done. I am incredibly happy. The season is just coming up on us. It is going to be a great year, my friend.
Exactly. So Thursday night, we'll be starting the NFL season with the Kansas City Chiefs playing the Detroit Lions. So it should be fun times. So yeah, but Tad, just like you said, the preseason is over. And, as a recording on a Sunday. So this past Tuesday, NFL teams had to cut down their rosters to the 53-man final roster. So it's not like years past where it's like they went from the 90 to like 75. They went from 75 to the 53, 56, whatever it is. So this is just like one day. That is it. Your final roster is set. So, I mean, it's a little change of pace. So, I mean, we saw some trades. Like, I mean, they're not huge name trades, but we saw some trades.
There were a lot of trades this year. Is it
exactly?
There were a lot.
And so a lot of people are speculating that because of this one-day cut situation, instead of the multiple, weeks spanning it out or whatever, there were going to be some lower-level trades to get some players some chances with other teams that may have more roster, flexibility to allow them some more play time compared to the team that they were currently on. So there are a few of those. Obviously, we got some names that were cut that were kind of significant, which we're going to get to later this episode. But I think, Tad, a good way to sort of wrap up the preseason and obviously get in the ready mindset for the NFL season is we need to look through some of the preseason winners and losers as far as players that were able to, stay on their roster, some players that stayed on the roster, but they're not going to benefit from that, or some players that got cut. I mean, it's just like we're going to talk about some preseason winners and losers. And then, as mentioned, we're going to close out the episode talking about some big names that fortunately got cut that, some of them may have signed on with another team. A couple of guys that I've mentioned, they have not signed on with another team. So they could be like in-season additions later on for some teams there. So yeah, we're going to wrap up the preseason with a quick preview towards the regular season in today's episode, going over some winners and losers. So Tad, let's start with some good here. Let's start with some preseason winners that you want to identify as just like, players that may have, landed themselves in a situation. They were able to beat out, some competition that they had. Just some great stories. I mean, usually we get a lot of that during the preseason and the offseason as well. So, I mean, just what do you got for me as a preseason winner?
So a couple of episodes ago, I think it was like what, I don't know, like 5, 6 episodes ago, we talked about what team should have Hard Knocks taken on. And
Yeah.
by the way, I know you have you still not watched a single episode of Hard Knocks?
I think we've talked about this like in an episode we did with our good friend Chauncey Tillies, where we talked about NFL movies and football movies and TV
Right.
shows that were like we ranked them or whatever. And I think I said on that episode, I was just like, as much as I love football, watching it like in a fictional base, like watching movies and TV shows based off of football, is not something that I have a huge interest in. So it's like
That's
usually I
fair.
watch other movies. So it's like I'm a huge Marvel fan, obviously Star Wars and Disney stuff. So it's like more of that is like what I do to watch movies and TV shows. So yeah, Hard Knocks is just something that's like I could see the appeal, but for me, it's just I've never seen a season of Hard Knocks ever.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That okay. Well, let me tell you, this season of Hard Knocks, you don't need to watch. It is the most
Okay. Got it.
boring season of Hard Knocks I've ever seen. This is why they should not have picked the Jets. They should have gone with my suggestion and picked the Bears, because this player would have been the Hard Knocks darling of the entire season. And that is Tyson Bagent. I believe I'm doing that
Yes.
right. Now,
That's what we confirmed, obviously.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're working on that. But if it's not Beijing, I apologize. But there's a reason that this guy's pronunciation of his name is a little hard to find, because this guy's a total unknown. He was a 0-star prospect coming out of high school. So where does he go? He goes to be the quarterback at a Division II school named Shepherd. And here's the crazy thing is he actually owns the NCAA record for most passing touchdowns in his career with 159, beating out the previous winner, Colt Brennan, for 155. So this guy, he went to the Senior Bowl as well. And look, I mean, I'll be real with our listeners. We're the draft guys, right? And so last year's Senior Bowl was our first Senior Bowl where we were, the guys. You can really only scout so many players that deeply. Bajent totally went under the radar with me. Like, I didn't look at a second of his tape, and I don't remember which one of us had quarterbacks, but I don't think either one of us really paid that much attention to him. And so he went undrafted. He signed with the Chicago Bears to compete to be Justin Fields' backup. He was competing with, for some reason, this man is still in the league, Nathan Peterman. And how?
I
How is
don't
that still
know.
a thing?
I really don't know.
I would love, like, what does he have on Roger Goodell where he's just like, I want my shot. I still get my shot. But even more impressive is Beijing had to compete against PJ Walker, who
Yeah.
was at one time the XFL MVP favorite. So it wasn't a gimme that he was going to get this backup job. He beat both of them out. Now they brought back Nathan Peterman because he has some type of blackmail in Roger Goodell. But for now, Beijing is currently slotted as the second string Bears quarterback. Now, is that in any way fantasy relevant unless Justin Fields goes down, which is a real possibility given how mobile he is? No, but just that story just is crazy. Like that is a great story of like a 0-star, not one. He didn't get a single star coming out of high school. That's how what a no name this guy was, and now he is a backup for one of the most historic franchises in the NFL. That is a fantastic story. I don't like the Bears. I don't hate the Bears, but I am 100% on this guy's bandwagon of I hope he is the next great NFL backup. Fuck Nathan Peterman. Forget him. Give Tyson Bagent a chance. This guy is awesome. I am so happy for him. He went 4 for 5 against Tennessee, 9 for 10 against Indianapolis, and he averaged more than 7 yards a throw in each game. Like, this guy is not just like, he's the best we have. He is legit good as a backup quarterback. So I want him in the league as long as possible. Let's go, Tyson Bagent. You are my preseason top winner of the year. Now, going into a more fantasy relevant preseason winner, it's my boy. You all laughed at me. You all said, he's not a first-round quarterback. What are you talking about? He's not a good quarterback. What are you talking about? My boy Kenny Pickett is about to prove you all wrong. He has looked absolutely fantastic this preseason. I'm so excited for the Steelers offense. He is gone, Kenny Pickett, 13 for 15 for 200 yards and 2 passing touchdowns in the preseason. That is an offense that felt like it was finding itself last year. And you know what, my friend, it has finally found itself. Don't ask me about Najee Harris. I still don't feel great about him. I'm never gonna back him up. Everybody except for Najee Harris is gonna be good in that offense.
Okay.
But I think that Kenny Pickett just played himself from a borderline draftable quarterback to an absolute QB2, because I know we've had this conversation before, and I am 100% in favor of drafting a backup quarterback, as you should. So he's now a QB2. How about this for a hot take? Kenny Pickett might play himself in as a top 10 quarterback at the end of the year.
That's steep expectations.
No, it's not safe. Not after this preseason. My boy's ready to take off. He's about to be a Tesla rocket. The only difference is this one's not going to blow up. Come on, no laugh there. That was a good joke. That was a great joke.
Am I high on Kenny Pickett? Yes. I think he's definitely, acclimated to the offense more. He's going to be more productive this year. He's more comfortable with the system, obviously, that Matt Canada has, obviously, there. So I'm optimistic he's going to be a lot better. Now, finishing in the top 10, that's
top 10 QB.
That's extreme. That's extreme.
It's not,
I think maybe next year, obviously, I think we can start to enter that conversation of him being a top 12 quarterback. But yeah, this year, I think there's too many other variables that's going to affect him. He'll be in that conversation. There'll be weeks. I will give you this. There will be weeks that he's going to finish as a top 10 quarterback. But over the entire season, that's where I'm going to say it's still a little bit high. But yeah, 100% there are going to be weeks where he's just going to outperform everybody. He's going to have a fantastic matchup, especially once we start getting into those bye weeks. He's 100% going to be a great streaming option for you based on whatever the matchup is. But yeah, to finish in the top 10 when the season's all said and done, that's a little bit too optimistic for me, my friend. We'll see. We'll see.
Also, on top of that, last thing I'll say about this is, look out for George Pickens, another breakout candidate.
We've talked about it before. We're huge fans of George Pickens.
That Steelers offense is chock full of a bunch of breakout candidates this year, except for Najee Harris.
What about Allen
Robertson?
Doesn't matter. How do you feel about
him? Worth the risk in the late rounds. I actually think he's draftable. I really do. I'm maybe falling for that trap, but I like him better in this offense than I liked him with the Rams offense. I'll say that.
Sure. Fair enough. But yeah, I think we talked about this when we did our rapid fire that I asked you, what was your sort of favorite stacks? And I sort of slid in there. I was like, underrated stack to sort of look at. I was like Pickett, Najee Harris, and George Pickens. And so, yeah, if that sort of can materialize over the course of the season, I'm a huge fan of Pickens. I think Najee Harris is going to be one of those guys that a lot of people are overlooking for the same way that you are. But I think he's going to be a silent killer. He's going to be a very dominant threat for sure. And then, yeah, Pickett, I think as the season progresses, just like last year, he's going to get even more and more comfortable. Is going to become a dependable option, especially once we get into those bye weeks for sure. And then, yeah, Tyson Bagent, I don't have much to say there, but just the story is fantastic. Hopefully, he can sort of establish himself here. Maybe, he'll land with another team and be part of a quarterback competition to get his starting job. We'll see about that, obviously, how his progression goes. But just, for him to beat out, Nathan, I really just
what's happening there?
What is that? One puzzles me so much.
My
Nathan
God,
Peterman
he's not
good.
He was
in Buffalo, and he was terrible there. Then now he's in Chicago, and he was still
don't forget
here.
Vegas when Gruden was like, he's a good quarterback, and they went to Vegas.
Yep,
yeah,
I remember that. He was in Vegas too, and I don't understand it. But somehow he's finding a way to make it through there. And PJ Walker is a starter in this league, like you said, former. He was in the running for XFL MVP, so the guy has a ton of talent. And so for him to come out and beat both of those guys, that sort of says something as far as
a D2 prospect,
exactly,
D2 undrafted prospect.
So
love it.
We'll see exactly, because his story is not done in the NFL. So fantastic picks there.
Also, real quick, speaking of football movies, because that could be a movie within itself, just like a D2 prospect, 0-star. That's a movie right there. Have you seen The Blind Side?
I've seen it. Yes, 100%.
What are your thoughts on it now?
It is very interesting now because it's actually funny because literally I had watched that movie. I think it was like over the weekend prior
Oh,
to that
really?
news breaking. Yeah, literally, I was like, because I was flipping channels earlier in the week and it was
That's
on TV, and
awesome.
I was like,
I
oh,
love
I own
that.
this movie. I'll watch it without commercials. So then
What
I
was it,
wait
like
till the weekend.
TBS or something?
Yeah, something like that. TBS, TNT, something like that. And so then I was like, okay, let me watch the movie all the way through without commercials, right? So I watched it over the weekend. I was like, that movie holds up. It's still pretty good. And then this news breaks literally like on Monday or Tuesday that week.
That's
I was like,
perfect.
oh, wow. This could not have like fallen in better place for me
Oh
specifically.
God,
I
that's
was like,
funny.
I just watched the movie. And then now this news comes out. And I'm just like, wow. Okay. Eye opening for sure. So yeah, that was very interesting for sure.
Oh man.
Let me get to my preseason winners here. First, I'm going to go to the Denver Broncos. I'm going to go to the
Okay.
tight end position. I'm going to go with Greg Dulcich. So I know
Oh,
we
all
sort
right.
of brought up Dulcich before as like a guy that we sort of like as far as a fantasy option. But here's the big thing. When we did our deep dive on Sean Payton, we were talking about how he's going to bring changes. I brought up a name, Ted, and this is a name that I was high on last year. Fortunately, he didn't find the playing time under Nathaniel Hackett for whatever reason. I don't know. And I thought he was actually going to flourish this year. That was Albert Okwudigbonom, because he was like, he fits that same mold that Jimmy Graham fit when he was in New Orleans with Sean Payton there. They traded Albert Okwudigbonom. He is
They
now a
did.
member of the Philadelphia Eagles. He was
Mhm.
traded with a 7th-round pick in 2025 for a 2024 6th-round pick. So, I mean, the Eagles got him for peanuts. So, I mean, if he could find a way to find a fresh start there, like, I mean, that's fantastic for him. But, I mean, this just opens the door further for Greg Dulcich to cement himself as that starting tight end. I mean, it pretty much is, because you look at the backups behind him. They got Adam Trout, who was a former New Orleans Saints draft pick. There's a lot of promise around it, but he hasn't realized it yet. So we'll see what happens here. Chris Manhertz is a blocking tight end, so he has no worries about Chris Manhertz taking time from him. And then rookie Nate Atkins, who I actually never have heard of, so I don't think he's going to be very relevant as well in this receiving game. So this is pretty much Dulcich's starting job to lose, essentially. Like, I mean, I don't think there's anybody going to be touching him as far as taking touches away from him. Maybe Adam Troutman sprinkled it a little bit, but nothing too significant. He didn't play much of the preseason, so he doesn't have many numbers there. But I think just the biggest thing is that if he could do what he did last year as a rookie, like, I mean, he started to establish himself, because we didn't see lots of Albert O and lots of other tight ends. So it's like he was able to sort of cement himself and become more of a name. There's a few times, Tad, I remember we suggested him as a waiver wire addition because we were starting to see the numbers and he was getting more starts and he's getting more involved in the offense. So, I mean, heading into the season now as the full-time starter, I think if he could replicate what he did last year, he played in 10 games, he had 6 starts, he had 33 receptions, 411 receiving yards, and only 2 touchdowns, though. So it's not fantastic numbers, but the fact that like he wasn't going into the season as a starter to come away with those types of numbers, that's sort of saying something a little bit there. Like I said, he's going into an offense with Sean Payton. I'm optimistic that they can utilize him pretty well there. So yeah, Russell Wilson likes to throw the tight end. So I think this is a match made in heaven for fantasy purposes. He's a guy that, you know what, if you haven't been able to get some of those top level tight ends, we talked about this before, like your Travis Kelce's, your Mark Andrews, your George Kittles, TJ Hawkinson as well. So it's like, if you miss out on those guys, it's okay to wait. Like, you can grab a guy like, Jawan Johnson in New Orleans we're pretty high on. Greg Dulcich, I think, is a name that sort of falls into that category as well. That's like, if you can wait on him, he is now cemented as a starter there. I think he could be very valuable. He may not be a dominant threat week to week, but I think he could be significant enough for your starting tight end position that he'll be able to benefit your overall roster week to week as far as points is concerned. So Greg Dulcich, I think, is automatically increases fantasy stock with that trade of Albert O.
100% agree with everything you just said, which always makes for a good podcast. But sometimes that happens. Sometimes that happens.
That's true.
But no, and you were shouting out their stats from last year. But here's the whole thing. And this is not usually great fantasy advice, but for this particular offense, just throw out all of last year's stats.
That's fair. That's fair.
Like, it's that year was an unmitigated disaster. I know Aaron Rodgers is saying, like, keep my coach's name out of your mouth. But guess what, Aaron Rodgers? Your offensive coordinator was a goddamn terrible head coach last year. Like, that is just the matter of fact. So, yes, he did not put up these amazing stats, but especially, as you said, with Albert O getting shipped out of there, the competition is near zero. Here's the thing is, it reminds me a lot of when Jimmy Graham got traded to Seattle, when people were like, oh my God, like he's going to be the next big tight end. And I fell for that trap as well. But I learned my lesson of, like, I don't think, and especially in Sean Payton's offense as well, the tight ends just are not consistent. And with Russell Wilson, like you said, he loves to throw tight ends. The problem is he loves to throw to multiple tight ends. So I don't think Dulcich is going to be consistent enough to be like a top 10 starting tight. Not saying you said this, but I don't think Dulcich is going to be a top 10 fantasy tight end. But exactly like what you said, is as a streaming option, he is one of the most reliable options out there. And plus, I don't think, because it hasn't been very well publicized until now, of course, that Alberto has been traded. So I think that Greg Dulcich is going to go undrafted in a lot of leagues now. And so he is the chef's kiss streaming option out there. So I think he's a very interesting name to keep track of. Would I draft him right now? Probably not. But is he at the top of my waiver wire target list? Absolutely.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I'm gonna get to my other preseason winner, not as fantasy relevant as well, so very similar to your Tyson Bagent take, I should say. This is very similar to that vein. So it's another quarterback as well,
Max
former
Duggan.
Carolina Panther. He is now a member of the New England Patriots. That is Matt Corral. So I mean,
he's a Patriot.
He is now officially a Patriot.
I saw he got cut by the Panthers. I didn't see it. Well, okay. All right. Wow.
Yeah, so it was actually very interesting, Tab, because he was actually waived before the final cut day. So, I mean, I don't know if there's any sort of advantage to that. Like, he just got a head start as far as finding where his team is. I don't know what it was, but just, yeah, they waived him a day early before that final cut day deadline. So he was waived. This is very interesting because, I mean, I was sort of talking about this way back before. That was just like, I felt like sort of bad for Matt Corral because it's like the Carolina Panthers drafted Bryce Young, number 1 overall. That pretty much said that's like, yeah, we're done with Matt Corral. We took him last year. He unfortunately suffered a Lisfranc injury, so he missed all of the season because he suffered that
in the
summer.
Preseason. He didn't even get regular season shots.
Exactly. No, that didn't even happen in the preseason either. It happened during training camp in the summer. So it's like that happened before he even got a chance to play like any sort of football. And so, yeah, he missed the entire season. And so I just feel like he never got a fair shot. And then, yeah, obviously they drafted Bryce Young, number 1 overall. They're moving forward with that. So they released Matt Corral. Yeah, this is very interesting because he lands with the Patriots. And Tad, I don't know if you know this, but the Patriots released both of their backup quarterbacks.
I was going to ask earlier, did Bailey Zappi, where's Bailey Zappi now?
So they released both Billy Cunningham and Bailey Zappi, but they were able to sign both quarterbacks to their practice squad. So they're still both members of the Patriots, but they are now on the practice squad. But yeah, now Matt Corral is part of the official roster.
So they have 4 quarterbacks on the roster.
Well,
not their active roster, but like their overall roster.
No, they only have 2 because that's what I was just about to say. So Matt Corral is the backup to Mac Jones, and that is the official roster. Practice squad does not count as your official roster.
I know, but that's part of the overall roster.
Okay, yes.
So
they have 4 quarterbacks. Yes, technically there. So
why do you need that many quarterbacks? Actually, I already know is because Mac Jones fucking sucks.
Well, I was also going to say, if you run into a Niner situation from last year, that's always better to have more quarterbacks.
That's fair.
Sure.
No, that's true.
But I think it's just very interesting, Tab, because we saw this last year where we saw that rotation between Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi. A lot of people were like, Bailey Zappi looks a lot better. Then they still went to Mac Jones. And then it's like, clearly there's a tenuous hold as far as Mac Jones and being a starting quarterback in New England. Hopefully with Bill O'Brien as the offensive coordinator, he could sort of resurrect something of what we saw at Mac Jones, which made him a number 1 overall pick, rumored to be number 3 overall pick by my San Francisco 49ers. Obviously it did happen, but just like there's obviously some talent there, with what he had as to why he went the first round, right? So hopefully we could resurrect that. But if not, I liked a lot of what I saw from Matt Corral during the draft process, which is why I was a huge fan of him, which is why I was still upset that he did get a fair shot. Now he lands in New England, where it's like, if there's still a little bit of just, question marks as far as what Mac Jones can do in the NFL, and you're bringing Matt Corral, who I think has a lot more talent as far as like his ceiling is a little bit higher compared to a Mac Jones, he's got a good shot to get that starting job back in the NFL, because it seemed like that was going to happen in Carolina. But now, obviously, it's going to happen in New England. So, I mean, there's a good shot that he has a chance to be a starter in the NFL still, just now with a different team. So, I mean, yeah, for me, he's a winner because, yeah, unfortunately, he got discarded from Carolina. They moved on with the number 1 overall pick, but now he's being placed behind another first-round pick, not number 1 overall, but a lot more of a, not as firm a hold on that starting job as some people may think, even with the moves that the Patriots made, cutting both Malik Cunningham and Bailey Zappi, putting them on the practice squad now. So, yeah, Matt Corral, I think he took a big step up as far as his starting prospects in the NFL are concerned.
Look, we do a lot of bits on the show. Okay, a lot of what we do on the show is manufactured. I'll pull the curtain back a little bit and reveal that. I swear to God, this is not a bit. You are breaking news to me. The fact that Matt Corral is a Patriot. I legitimately had no idea. And that's even more shocking because I was shocked when they cut Zappy. I saw that before the show. But I had a conspiracy theory all offseason that they benched Zappy to take the pressure off him just so that he could be the starter going into next season. So then when they cut him, I was like, well, shit. Guess I was really wrong there.
Yeah, shoots all that in the foot. Yeah.
Like that went down like the Hindenburg. But my point, too soon?
No.
Okay. I think 100 years is the sweet spot.
I think you're safe.
Yeah,
you're safe
okay.
here.
All right, just making sure.
Yeah.
But
see, now if you just said the Titanic, I think a lot of people may be a little bit more upset.
Hey, is that still too soon?
I don't know, because apparently now they're trying to like build up some sort of vessel to like go down and retrieve elements of the Titanic that is sunk or whatever. Like,
did we not learn? Did we not learn from the sub 2 months ago?
I think it's gonna be
people.
unmanned. I think it's gonna be unmanned, but I'm saying so. It's like that's still relevant. Nobody's talked about the Hindenburg until probably just now.
Yeah, is that one gonna be controlled by an Xbox controller as well, or just good God? Anyway,
Logitech.
Whatever. But anyway, the point being is, the whole reason I had that Bailey Zappi conspiracy theory is because Mac Jones is not a good quarterback, and I was not a big believer of him going in that draft process either. Did I think it would be this bad? No, but he's not a good quarterback. And like you said, that his hole in that starting position is weak at best. So I am 100% with you. Is like Matt Corral was never given his fair shot in Carolina. And unfortunately for him, Carolina just had an opportunity to get a better quarterback. Bryce Young is a better quarterback. Like there's just no question about that. Carolina did the right thing. Matt Corral just got, a shit hand. It's like in poker when you just get like a 3 and a 2 and you're like, God damn it. He's just a God fold. Now he's got a shot. So, okay, and especially, look, I am becoming less and less a believer as Belichick. Maybe this is a good podcast segment for later. But Bill Belichick went, in my opinion, from the best NFL head coach of all time to like third or fourth on my list ever since Brady left. I think that was more Brady than was Belichick. But Belichick still has enough goodwill of like he could do this with Matt Corral, a mid-round quarterback, and turn him into the next great thing because he did it with Matt Castle. He did it with Ryan Mallett. He did it with Tom Brady, obviously. So, yeah, I could totally, absolutely 100% see Matt Corral being the next Patriots quarterback that they turn into, the mid-round steal.
Yeah, I think we'll see exactly how that all plays out for sure. Let's get to the other side of the coin here, Tad. Let's get to some preseason losers. So who's some guys that just unfortunately either got cut or they just didn't perform enough in the preseason that made you like, they just didn't show me enough. That's like, they got the roster. It's like kind of like if we were talking about Nathan Peterman, obviously making the roster. It's like, really, how did he sort of do that sort of thing? So just who are some preseason losers for you when it's all said and done now?
Well, I'll tell you, my friend. Because speaking of Nathan Peterman, this quarterback is looking like the goddamn next Nathan Peterman. It's goddamn Anthony Richardson.
Oh, God.
What? Why do we take this guy? He is not good. And I hate all the positive media, coverage around him when it comes to the Indianapolis Colts. Like, well, he was just named captain. What did he fucking do? Who cares? This guy, did you see his first interception of the preseason?
I did.
Who the hell was he throwing it to?
That's a fair thing to make. Fair statement to make.
Because my guess is he's throwing it to his head coach on the sidelines. That's how bonkers that throw was. So, okay, great. He's captain. Who cares? Credit where it's due. He hasn't looked like an absolute train wreck, but my God, my confidence in this man is still absolutely zero. Meaning that his throwing decisions will need a lot of time to develop. I'm not calling him a bust yet. Notice how I've not used that word yet. He is not a bust. I think that there is still potential there for him to develop over the next 2 years into him being a good quarterback. But this upcoming year, my God, stay away from him when it comes to fantasy football. Because I've seen some people say because of his rushing ability, he's like borderline draftable. He is not borderline draftable. He is not. Stay away from him, especially because Jonathan Taylor, the man whose jersey is currently sitting in my closet right now, we don't know when he's coming back. We don't know if he's coming back. We don't know anything about this. And yes, if Jonathan Taylor comes back, that will change a lot about Anthony Richardson's situation. But in terms of as the Colts situation stands right now, stay the hell away from this entire offense. Maybe you can convince me Michael Pittman's draftable. Maybe. Other than that, Alec Pierce stay away from. Jonathan Taylor stay away from. Anthony Richardson absolutely stay the hell away from. Like, it's just, he is the biggest loser. And you know why? You know why? What is the one word I kept bringing up with Anthony Richardson during our draft, preview leading up to the entire fucking event was inconsistent. And was the one word that kept popping up during the entire preseason with him, as he is an Indianapolis Colt, and the entire basis of our foundation of our future is inconsistent. I hate my life. Why couldn't TCU beat Colorado? I had no hope. This is the most hopeless football season I'm running into. I hate this.
I think your extremes are too high.
Don't you dare say anything positive. Don't you dare say anything positive.
It's your own team. I think that's why. So your extremes are a little bit too high. It's like when you saw the preseason hype and he looked really good, you're very optimistic.
Yeah.
And now you're seeing this in the preseason, you're getting very pessimistic. So I think it's going to be somewhere in the middle. Like exactly like you said, it's going to be inconsistent. There are going to be times where he's going to wow you. You're going to be like, wow, this is the reason why the Colts drafted him. Then there's going to be a lot of times where it's going to be like, why did the Colts draft him?
Yeah.
You're going to get both. You're going to get both.
You're going to get a lot of
the
both.
Biggest thing. And like I said, I don't know why I've become the Anthony Richardson supporter between the two of us, especially with you being a Colts fan. But I think the rushing ability is going to allow him to become more of a serviceable quarterback this season for fantasy purposes. I'm not saying you need to draft him. I'm 100% in that boat with you. But as we get towards those bye weeks, once again, he can be a potential streaming option, especially once he gets more comfortable in the offense. They're going to tailor-made this offense around him to utilize those rushing plays, the RPOs, all that stuff. So he's going to be a lot better in that sense. And I think that the throwing will come with time too. So I think as the season progresses, similar to what we saw with Kenny Pickett, I don't think he was good right out the gate, but eventually he got more used to it. I see that very much happening with Anthony Richardson. At least that's, I think, me just being a little bit more optimistic with Anthony Richardson. Based on everything that I saw, I was like, the things that he can do well, that's fantastic. The things that he needs work on, that is coachable. Because it's harder when it's something that you can't coach. Then it's like, okay, this guy's a lost cause. I think the problems with Anthony Richardson are easily coachable. They can be fixed up. And I think with time, he'll become a lot better. So, yeah, I agree with you that the inconsistent thing is probably going to be the one word that you're going to hear all season long, too. You've heard it all preseason season long. You're going to hear all season long, too. But I think the biggest thing that you just need to hold out a little bit of hope for is that every game he'll steadily get a little bit better. So I think just watch the extremes, buddy. Just watch.
I know. No, I will not. I will not. I can't. But anyway, point being is, no, I'm with you. I think that exactly. Hence why I notice how I have not called him a bust since the Colts drafted him. I have not called him a bust because I'm right there with you. I see the development potential there. The two keywords there are development and potential, which means his rookie year is going to be a shit show. So it's going to be rough. Just stay away. So I think he's a loser. From what I've seen from him this preseason, I'm not a believer in him with his rookie year. This is also another reason I'm emotional because I have emotional ties to this guy as well. And he also sucked it up during the preseason. And that's Kendre Miller, the Saints mid-round pick. And we said it, I don't know, like almost 10 episodes ago where, I shouldn't say I said it where I was like, I don't think Alvin Kamara is going to get suspended. I feel like it would have happened at this point.
Yes, you were a big believer that he wasn't going to get suspended.
No, come July, I thought.
I was like, I was pulling a lead course. I was like, not so fast, my friend.
You pulled it very well.
He was going to get the suspension, so.
And he did. It was for, 3 or 4 games?
3 games.
3 games. So a 3-game suspension. So who's going to step up? Is it Jamaal Williams or Kendre Miller? And let me tell you, my friend, not so fast, Kendre Miller.
Yeah.
Because he sucked this preseason. I was a big believer. I was arguing that Kendre Miller should have gotten a Heisman invite over Max Duggan. I have been, you fellow TCU fans have been against me for saying that. But Kendre Miller was phenomenal in his, final season at TCU. But you look at what he did in the preseason was barely anything. In 2 or 3 games, he averaged less than 2 yards to carry. That other game where he played, it was 2.3. So it was one of those things where, he just didn't show the talent on the ground that he had at TCU, and maybe he just won't be able to translate that to the NFL. I'm not saying that's the fact, but does create that doubt in mind. And another thing too is why they drafted Kendre Miller, or one of the reasons why they should have drafted him, is he's a great dual threat running back, a lot like Alvin Kamara was. But you look at what he did in the preseason, he only logged 1 reception. In 3 games, he only logged 1 reception. So he had the opportunity to kind of steal that backup role away from Jamaal Williams, kind of take over as Alvin Kamara's successor, kind of start that, storyline a little sooner. He did not take advantage of it at all. So Kendre Miller is now 3rd string running back on the Saints, as he should be. Because if you show me that in the preseason, no way am I handing you the keys to the car. So Jamaal Williams is now going to be that guy over the next 3 games for the Saints, and Kendre Miller is now looking like he is a potential bust. I'm hoping he won't be. I think it's just hopefully maybe. And here's another thing too, is you can't blame him behind a bad offensive line. New Orleans boasts one of the best offensive lines in the league. So it's one of those things that, like, I don't know what the problem is, but he needs to figure it out very, very quickly.
I think there's still hope for Kendre Miller, because also you have to
100%.
remember that
100%.
in preseason, they usually sort of, pare down their offense. It's a lot more vanilla.
It's a simplified version.
Exactly. So they're not doing anything like to best suit his skills. It's literally just to like see what they're looking like in live action, right? So I think once we get to the season, they're probably going to create some packages that utilize his skill set a lot better. So we may see some more effectiveness, or like you said, maybe what we saw in preseason, regardless of how simplified the offense is, if he can't read the holes right, if he doesn't understand the plays properly, if he just can't do what he did back at TCU, then yeah, maybe he's trending towards that, 3rd string running back on every single roster wherever he goes now, sort of thing. Like, we'll see. But I mean, I think just the preseason, we said this before, you have to take your preseason games, however good they do or however bad they do, you have to take it with a grain of salt, because it's just, the preseason is just like it. Like I said, they're just out there to play against another team, just to see how, get your legs under you or whatever, right? Like they call it there. So yeah, I think it's just, let's ease up there. But yeah, it could very well be the case too, where it's just like he just doesn't work out in the NFL as well. So.
But that's why I picked him as a loser, because he's not a bust. I'm not calling him a bust yet. But that was his chance. He had a chance to really step up, and he did not take that chance at all. Or he didn't take advantage of that chance at all.
You're right. No, that makes a ton of sense for sure. So yeah, good picks there. So I'm going to get to my preseason losers here. I'm going to go with the big name at the wide receiver position for the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, there's a lot of people talking about hype around him with the Kansas City Chiefs. Kadarius Toney.
I was going to go Sky Moore.
Sky Moore, I think there's possibility there too, but I think just there's a lot of talk about Kadarius Toney, especially for fantasy purposes, that just like he's going to emerge as like, he's the former 1st round pick by the New York Giants. He's just been hurt constantly. They eventually traded him to Kansas City Chiefs. He played some games there. He scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl. They're like, sky's the limit for this guy. He's going to absolutely break out this coming season. But the problem is that
sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit. Yeah, exactly. But I think the problem with that is that you already brought this up. That's just like, he had a chance in this preseason to really establish himself. That's like, I put the injury concerns away. I could be that not number one, but 1st round pick that made me, out of Florida, like showcasing all those skills. But once again, in the preseason, in the summer training camps, he injures his knee that was already surgically repaired. So, I mean, he just re-injured that knee again. He had to get off-season surgery on that knee again to clean up some, like, issues as far as, like, loose particles, or I don't know what the wording or whatever that they used there.
Hell are particles floating around your knee? Like,
I don't know. I've heard this term before when people have got off-season surgery or whatever to clean things up or whatever. So it's just like, he had to get surgery again. He didn't play the rest of the training camps or preseason games or anything like that. Andy Reid has said, as of recently, I think it was yesterday, it might have been earlier today, but he said that Kadarius Toney is healthy. He's going to be able to play in week 1 against the Detroit Lions. But once again, it's just, I feel like every time we talk about Kadarius Toney, we're talking about him being injured. And just, even though he was able to, it's looking like he's going to be on track to play in week 1. How long can we count on that? Because it's just like, I keep seeing it where it's like he plays a little bit, then he gets hurt again. He plays a little bit, then he gets hurt again. And then even when the games that he plays a little bit in, it's not enough to make me warrant drafting this guy. And right now, you're looking at his ADP, Tad. He's currently the 47th receiver taken off the board and 113th overall. So he is being drafted because if you're playing in a 10-man league, that's around round 11. So this is like the picks that you're making right before your defense and your kickers. So I mean, you're taking flyers on this guy. So that's exactly what it was, or that's what it continues it still continues should be, that he needs to be a flyer player and not a guy that you're targeting to be a key contributor on your roster. Personally, for me, I don't even want to touch him because it's like I'm just too concerned about all these injuries. And then we talked about guys need to take advantage of the preseason. Who's the name that we kept hearing about all the preseason when it came to the Kansas City Chiefs receiving group? Justyn Ross, the former Clemson standout, right? Like, I mean, I kept seeing so many videos of him making these sensational grabs. He was doing it in the preseason games as well. So he took advantage, like you were talking about, where it's like Kendrick Miller had a shot to take advantage with Alvin Kamara being out. He couldn't do it. Justyn Ross, with Kadarius Toney being out, he absolutely capitalized it, and he's established himself to be in that rotation, to be in this receiving group under Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, to be involved, and eventually maybe emerge as a top receiving threat at the receiver group to obviously pair up with Travis Kelce. So this is just what worries me about Kadarius Toney. Is just like we're always going to be hearing about him suffering some sort of injury, and just like these things that we keep hearing about lingering, and it's going to continue on the rest of his career. So for me, that's why he's a preseason loser. It's just like he can't get past the injury bug. I mean, I don't understand what it is.
It's a bummer, but I 100% agree with you. And here's the thing too, is I will bet you $50, not actually, but I will bet you $50 that at some point during our waiver wire episodes this season, we will have to say, don't go for Toney. Don't fall for the trap, because he's going to blow up for like 20, 30 points during some week, and he's going to be the hottest waiver wire pickup. And you and I are smart enough, by the way, which is why you should listen throughout the season for our waiver wire advice, because we will tell 100%. You the traps that, people are falling for to stay away from. And Kadarius Toney is absolutely one of those traps, because I'm 100% with you. And don't forget, a player that I thought you were going to bring up, Justyn Ross, is great name to bring up. Because, I'm with you. That is a great, potential sleeper right there. But also, let's not forget Rashee Rice, the rookie out of SMU. That is another great name that could step up in this offense. So not only is Kadarius Toney inconsistent with his health, but he also has a boatload of competition coming his way. So it's one of those things of just like, I like him as like a good tool to use within he's one of those players that works very well on the field, meaning that like he will do well for that offense on the field, but when it comes to your fantasy team, when it comes to your team, he will do well for the Chiefs, but when it comes to your team, he is basically absolutely irrelevant. So just 100% stay away from him. And you're right, he had the opportunity to step up, but unfortunately, I'm not gonna say he didn't earn it or he blew it or anything. It was factors out of his control. Sometimes that's the way football goes, but sorry, man, you just didn't, you didn't get there.
Yeah. So we'll see. Obviously, we could see if maybe he could.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
Him. I mean, let's hope that's the case. Obviously, for himself, for his career, and obviously for the Chiefs' sakes as well. But yeah, for me, it's just like he had a good opportunity. Unfortunately, he just keeps dealing with injuries, and that's going to derail his career. We'll see exactly how it all plays out, though. But yeah, huge fan of Justyn Ross. He's definitely capitalized. Just sort of to throw another winner there. Yeah, 100%. He's been capitalized.
Let's get a little R&R. Ross and Rice.
Yeah, I'm all
for
it.
Both.
I'm all
like
for
them
it.
both.
Yeah. Tad, I know you started being upset as like a Colts fan, like it's not going to be the easiest season.
Don't you do this thing.
But I'm going to give you a team that I think is going to have a worse season this year. And so my other preseason loser this year is Arizona Cardinals fans.
Oh, I mean, that's an easy pick. I mean, come on.
I mean, Tad, did you see that video released by the Arizona Cardinals of
I didn't watch it. I saw the headline. I could just like picture it in my head. So I didn't watch it, but I can imagine perfectly what was said. It was just like, let's go, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
We got this.
It's pretty much in that vein. Exactly. I mean, Tad, I think we could probably share that clip after this episode is done. We could post it on our social media handles just in case you haven't checked out the video. But yeah, he's trying to do some sort of like, hype speech about like, you should want to be here, like, get that sort of enthusiasm. But yeah, it fell very flat. Like it was just absolutely terrible. Like it was Charles Barkley terrible. That's what it
Terrible.
was.
Just
Like it
terrible.
was not good at all. I mean, Tad, it's pretty blatant to see what the Arizona front office is trying to do this season with the moves they've been making. Like, I mean, that video aside, but I mean, it's like they trade away Isaiah Simmons to the New York Giants for a 7th round pick in 2024. Yeah, 2024. Yeah, exactly. Giants got an absolute steal there. And remember, Tad, he was a former 8th overall pick in the 2020 draft. So that was only a couple seasons ago.
He's not as good. Sorry, I know we're going into like Isaiah Simmons talk now, but like somebody texted me, was like, "What was he a bust?" And I was like, "No, like he wasn't as good as we hoped he was going to be, but like he's still a very what's the word I'm looking for? Utilizing, or he's a very useful player in your defense. So it's just like for a 7th round pick."
Yeah. Giants were able to get an absolute steal with that. They
I
also
imagine, real quick. I imagine this is how that bump call went down, where it was like the first offer where you expect them to reject it. And they're like, all right, Isaiah Simmons. And you're like, okay, all right, 7th round pick. And they go, okay, deal. And you're like, wait, what?
Exactly. You don't expect it to go through for sure. Cardinals also trade away their starting offensive lineman Josh Jones to the Houston Texans. Another former 3rd round pick. 3rd round pick in the 2020 NFL draft. He got them for a 5th round pick in 2024. So these are not big deals that they're getting good draft capital for. These are literally like just bargain basement deals that have been happening. They cut the projected starter in Colt McCoy. They also cut his potential backup as well in David Blau, who formerly started with the Detroit Lions as well. He had a really good game on Thanksgiving, I think, a couple seasons ago. So I mean, yeah, that's
2 seasons ago.
Yeah, 2 seasons ago, I think, if I remember correctly there. So instead, they're either going to go with the rookie Clayton Tune, or they just acquired Josh Dobbs. So either one of those guys is going to be starter. So either a guy who
it's almost like there was no top 10 quarterback on the trade market they could have gone for.
So, I mean, we'll see exactly how that plays out. Kyler Murray, I mean, this is pretty obvious, but they placed him on the PUP list. But the big thing here, Ted, I don't know if you read this, but there's a rumor out there that
I saw this. I know
they may keep him out the entire season because they're not sure how the rehab is going to go. Also, because of the money that is being paid to him, I think it's like something like $24 million or whatever that he's owed this year, and I think the following season as well. If he somehow plays any sort of the games this year, or if they put him on the active roster, if they keep him on the PUP list, they don't have to pay him that money. So there's a very good shot that they keep him on the PUP list all season long, and we're not going to see any Kyler Murray this entire season. So I mean, I don't know what to expect for the Cardinals as a Cardinals fan. Like, I don't know what to expect. As a Niners fan, I'm absolutely thrilled with all these deals. Like, this is fantastic. I am loving all of this.
You are in a 3-team division right now, my friend.
Exactly. That's essentially what it is. So, I mean, this is fantastic for me. But yeah, if you look at the future aspects, I mean, obviously they're probably going to be a top 5 pick, obviously, just how the way the season is going, the way that it's probably going to go. But you also have to look that they but they acquired Houston's 1st round pick from when Houston traded up last year to try to select Will Anderson Jr. out of Alabama. So, I mean, they have Houston's 1st round pick too. And I don't think Houston's going to be doing all that well either. So there's a potential that they're going to end up with, if not 2 top 5 picks, at least 2 top 10 picks.
They'll definitely have 2 top 10 picks.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say. We'll see about the 2 top 5 picks, depending on how bad Houston does. But just there's a potential there that they could really make a huge change with their roster next year, whether that's for Caleb Williams, whether that's for, they're going to go non-quarterback players with Marvin Harrison Jr., upgrade the offensive line with Olu Fashanu out of Penn State. Like, I mean, there's different directions they could go, but clearly they're thinking about the future. They really could give a shit about what's happening this year. I mean, Harris is clearly just like, I don't know what's going on. So, I mean, Tad, I know you're not optimistic about the Colts this year, but I think Cardinals fans have it a lot worse than you do this year.
Yeah, 100%. Like, at least I have a quarterback to believe in, right? Yes. Like, all right, show kind of like what we talked about earlier is like Anthony Richardson, those good games, those good plays, I'm going to be like, oh, we got ourselves a quarterback.
Exactly.
And then he's going to throw a pick the next play, and I'm going to be upset. But at least I got that going for me. Who'd you say? Clayton Tune?
Clayton Tune, yeah. The rookie Clayton Tune. So
I like what I saw
out of him in the draft process.
No, don't do that. No, don't do that. Don't do that to them. Don't do the whole like he may be good. No, come on. They've been through enough this offseason. Don't give them false hope. It's like it's like Hawkeye in Endgame where it's like, in the rain, like don't do this. Don't give me hope. Like don't do that.
I get what you mean.
Come on. So no, I mean I'm with you. Yeah, I don't know if you named a specific loser there. I think it was just the Cardinals
It's
franchise.
Cardinals fans. That
Yeah,
was
the
the
Cardinals
loser.
franchise.
Cardinals fans.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, it's 100%. That's the game ender right there. You win. That's you sank it from half court. Good job.
Yeah.
Well done.
So that's gonna be tough for Cardinals fans to watch this season. So yeah, I mean, just Tad, really quick question for you here. Do you think they potentially could go 0-17?
Nah, they'll win.
You think so?
Yeah, they'll win a couple games.
All right.
They'll win like 2 or 3.
All right. We'll see how that all goes. All right, Tad. So let's close out this episode. Let's talk about some winners, talk about some losers. Let's talk about some surprising names that were cut from the respective teams. So, Tad, who are some surprising names that you got, or surprising name if it was only one? I mean, just what do you got for me?
All right, so I only got one name, and I'll be interested to hear your honest opinion on this because Twitter or X or whatever the hell, because Elon Musk is a fucking idiot. But anyway, by the way, look out for this clip on X. They're geographically based, so the trends are geographically based. So I don't know if this was only because I'm in Dallas or if this is kind of a nationwide thing. Did Will Greer go like viral with you as well after the Trey Lance trade?
Yeah, because the big thing was that he was actually playing pretty well in the preseason.
Yeah, exactly.
And then obviously with the Trey Lance trade to Dallas, a lot of people were like, well, I think just Will Greer's cut because they love Cooper Rush for some reason because all of how well he did last year. And obviously Dak is not going anywhere just yet. We'll see exactly what happens in the future. But yeah, unfortunately, just Will Greer just became the odd man out because of that trade for Trey Lance.
Okay, so I'm glad to hear that because Will Greer was like the talk of the town all week last week here in Dallas. Like he dominated sports radio because and this just shows why I'm so fed up with Dallas sports talk. It's just the most obnoxious thing in the world. Is last year everybody was talking about how Cooper Rush is start over Dak Prescott, and then one preseason later, everyone's talking about how Will Greer should take over for Cooper Rush. But then, of course, the Dallas Cowboys, for some fucking reason, trade for Trey Lance. So they actually told Will Greer before the final preseason game, this is it. We're cutting you. Go out there, make your best performance, earn your spot somewhere else. Because, we're not keeping you. And what does he do? To his credit, and this is awesome. I love the fact they did this. He went out, he scored 4 total touchdowns, threw for like 200 yards, and Cowboys still cut him.
Yep.
And so that's why I was asking you, is because it was a big name to me. It's because
I think that was nationwide.
Will Greer was the top trending Twitter name in Dallas for the next 2 days after they cut him. Because everybody was like, and again, it was just ridiculous because they were like, fuck Cooper Rush, get Will Greer in there. I'm like, you just were calling for Cooper Rush to be our starter. Like
that's how fickle sports radio is, though.
It's insane. But bottom line being is the team he went to is super fascinating. He is now the Cincinnati Bengals backup quarterback.
Interesting. Okay.
It is interesting. So Joe Burrow, by all accounts, will be good to go by week 1. And I believe that. I don't think that's it. There's any smoke screen going on there. In fact, I think Joe Burrow could have played in the preseason, but they smartly were like,
smartly kept him out.
No need to play. No. Yep. Just no. Sit down, shut up, just heal up. But if Joe Burrow goes down, because yes, they did make improvement, they being the Cincinnati Bengals, did make improvements along the offensive line. Jawan Taylor, obviously being the headliner for the improvement, but that offensive line still questionable, I think is the nicest way I can say that. So if Joe Burrow goes down and Will Greer now has to step up as the backup, all of a sudden, and Amber, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I think Will Greer is a streamable option. Should Joe Burrow go down, he is the Bengals starting quarterback. If I have, let's say, Aaron Rodgers and he's on a bye week, Will Greer's the name I'm keeping my eye on.
I think once again, it's the matchup dependency, right? So it's like I don't think he's going to blow you away with amazing numbers, but I think just with the offense that he's within, obviously with Joe Mixon and Ja'Marr Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, all those guys, it's like automatically he's put himself in a situation where he could get some production and he could give you some good points in a pinch. So yeah, I like him as a streamable option too, if that were to happen.
So that was there were other bigger names that got, cut or, released and then re-signed. Max Duggan being one of them. Practice squad MVP.
Oh God, he was so bad.
Hey, he was not bad. He was not bad. He just wasn't great. That alone up to it. He didn't even play in this whole second game. He wasn't even given a shot. You know what? That was it. He wasn't even given a shot. My boy, you know
Oh
what?
my
It's
God.
a conspiracy. It's a
Okay,
conspiracy
sure,
against TCU
sure.
people. That's why Quentin Johnson made the roster. Anyway, who are some big names for you?
Oh yeah, so if the Colts
Yeah,
sign him, you'd be all aboard with him starting over Anthony.
Oh, 100%. Are you kidding me? 100% I would. Dude, now, did you think you were going to win that game? Of course I would have won Max Duggan to start over Anthony Richardson. He's got the X factor, baby.
Yeah.
He's better than goddamn Chandler Morris.
I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, man. But yeah,
you can tell me Chandler
I
Morris.
watched him against the Niners game, and it did not look pretty. I was like, it makes sense why they cut him.
No, that's fair. He's on the practice squad.
All right. Let's see what happens there. But yeah, no, that's very interesting to see. Yeah, Will Grier, I think he was able to put himself in a good situation with Cincinnati now. He had a really good preseason, but I mean, once again, I said this earlier, just take the preseason with a grain of salt. So I mean, yeah, look good at preseason, but just as a backup now in Cincinnati, learning behind Joe Burrow, I think that's a good situation for him. If he were to have to come in and play a couple of games in case that cap is still nagging Burrow throughout the season, then yeah, I could see that as a viable option for depending on what the matchup is, a streamable option, exactly as the way to put it there. I think it's good there for sure. So, yeah.
What if his cow starts bothering him?
God, you need to stop, really, dude. So I got a couple names here as far as the biggest names that were cut. So this was pretty surprising. So Deion Jones, linebacker, actually with the Carolina
That was
Panthers.
surprising. Mm-hmm.
So he was a former second-round pick out of LSU by the Atlanta Falcons in the 2016 NFL Draft. He was a key piece in their Super Bowl team that, unfortunately, less talked about that actual performance in the Super Bowl. But he finished third in Defensive Rookie of the Year voting, obviously, that year in his rookie year. The next year, he made the Pro Bowl. Tad, in 5 of the 7 seasons that he's played in the NFL, he has 100 combined tackles in each of those 5. So, I mean, this guy is very productive. He's only 28 years old, so he's still got a lot of great football ahead of him. So, yeah, depending on where he lands, I think he could be a really good difference maker for somebody's defense. I wasn't as high at him, but I put him on this list purely because he's a former first-round pick, and that's Alex Leatherwood out of Alabama, who was just recently
He's still in the league?
He was just released by the Chicago Bears, so he was a first-round pick from the 2021 NFL Draft. So, I mean, he's still got – we're talking about Deion Jones having a lot of football. Leatherwood has a lot of football ahead of him as well. He was drafted by the Las Vegas Raiders, 17th overall. Like I said, I was not as high as him. I did not think 17th overall was that worth it. I could have argued first-round pick, but way towards the bottom instead of right there in the middle. So, yeah, obviously what's done is done, so he was taken there. During his 2020 college season, as to why I think he was taken 17th overall, Ted, he was a unanimous All-American first team. He also won the Outland Trophy, which was given to the best interior offensive lineman in all of college football. So, I mean, this guy definitely was able to produce at Alabama. The Raiders gave up on him, though. After 2 seasons, he was claimed off of waivers by the Chicago Bears. Unfortunately, he just wasn't able to make a name for himself with the Chicago Bears either. So hopefully, he can land with another team and somebody can coach him up and he could still salvage his career. But just, that was a little bit surprising. Former first-round pick just hasn't found success. Maybe he's sort of landing in that bust territory. We'll see about that. But like I said, still got age on his side. He could possibly salvage his NFL career there too. Denzel Mims, wide receiver with the now Detroit Lions. So if you remember, Tad,
he's with the Lions?
Well, as I said, was with the Lions because he was released.
Okay.
So he's a former second-round pick for the 2020 NFL Draft, drafted by the New York Jets. Tad, I remember we talked about this on our episode of podcast. Obviously, I think it was last season, maybe it was 2 seasons ago, but he never got a chance to shine with New York because of their quarterback issues and their offensive line issues. They just never got involved in that offense. And so he requested a trade in the 2022 season. Before that season began, he wanted to get traded to get to an offense where he could be involved more. Unfortunately, the Jets never granted his request. He was never able to find a trade partner. Stayed with the Jets. He eventually was dealt to the Detroit Lions this offseason. He was traded for a conditional 7th-round pick in 2025 for a conditional 6th-round pick in 2025. So we're talking about peanuts trades. This is like peanut shells of a trade. It's just next to nothing.
Like the things you sweep up at the end of a baseball
game.
Like
after the circus is over, you're sweeping up everything. That's exactly the dregs of what this trade was for the Detroit Lions. It's like, all right, we'll give it a shot. But he clearly couldn't even land with the Detroit Lions as well. So, I mean, yeah, we'll see if he's still able to land with another team and carve out a role with somebody. But yeah, former second round pick out of Baylor that a lot of people had hope for, especially with the New York Jets. And that sort of like, they didn't have a lot of great options there, but just they had issues on offense. And especially with Aaron Rodgers, you thought maybe he could emerge there, but no, they dealt to Detroit. Couldn't make a name for himself there either. So we'll see if he lands somewhere else. So those are some of the big names that I saw as far as being cut after that, Tuesday's deadline to get down to that 53-man roster. So yeah, we'll see exactly what happens with all these guys there. But Tad, what's nice about the end of this episode? Usually I don't like ending episodes because, the fun is over or whatever, but it's just like we were talking about at the beginning of the episode, this is sort of the mark of the end of the preseason and all of the fanfare. Now we are going to get into regular season action. And we teased this at the beginning of the episode, we're going to be doing our season preview episode in our next episode. So we're going to talk about stuff we've done on a podcast in the past couple of seasons. We're going to talk about our division winners. We're going to talk about the playoff, bracket, like how we think that's all going to play out. Obviously our Super Bowl winners. We're going to get into all the awards as far as, who we think are win all the specific awards. I think we've done the potential top 5 picks of the 2024 NFL draft. I think we've done that before. I think we've done
draft. Tuesday draft.
So we're going to get into that most likely. I think we've talked about potential head coach firing. So I think we've got to that before.
That's a good one. Because you actually have a hot take on this. You think a coach is going to get fired that I think is safe.
Yeah, so I mean, we're going to get into all of that. We may not get to everything. We're still obviously going to lay out as far as what we like better than other things, but it's going to be some sort of semblance of that. But overall, it's going to be a 2023 NFL season preview. And so, yeah, that's going to be our next episode. And hey, guys, the best way you can find out about when that episode is going to be dropping, make sure you subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. So whether it's on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, you can listen right on the LAFB Network website as well. Hit that subscribe button so you're always up to date with our podcast. If you're watching us on YouTube, we appreciate you. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so we're always up to date with our YouTube videos as well. And of course, make sure you're supporting our parent network at LAFB Network. College football season, Tad, I know it wasn't the greatest season kickoff for you yesterday, but the college football season is officially underway as well. So they got you covered on the college level with USC football and UCLA football. And of course, with the season starting this weekend in the NFL ranks, they got you covered on the professional level, the Los Angeles Rams and the Los Angeles Chargers. So it's going to be a lot of great content coming for you if you're interested in any of those 4 teams. So make sure you're supporting them for sure. And you see the ticker down below. Make sure you're following us on all our socials there. You got us on Twitter, me at Upside23, Tad at TadDecide94. Got the show handle at The Decide Guys, and of course on Instagram at The Decide Guys as well. So I mean, yeah, guys, we're gonna be dropping lots of great content, and we keep saying this every podcast. We'll continue to say it every single podcast. We're here to help you win your fantasy football league. So make sure you're interacting with us. Make sure you ask us all your questions. Maybe some of your drafts are already over, but hey, maybe you need to make some trades. With that Cooper Kupp news, it's like, are you still firm on it? Maybe you could take advantage of the guy who does have Cooper Kupp, and you can leverage some guy from him to trade him a receiver to obviously replace Cooper Kupp. So, I mean, there's a potential there. Tad is a great trade guy, so you could definitely hit him up with all of your trade advice.
Don't even get me started on trades with that bullshit that happened in our LAFB network.
Waiver fire decisions, we got you covered all season long. So we got articles as well as the episodes where we get doing bets. We'll be doing bets all season long. So make sure you're asking us about your bet questions as well. Starts and sits, obviously we got you covered there. And of course, DFS as well. So we got you covered on all fronts there. So make sure you interact with us, watching our videos, interacting. I mean, guys, to everybody who's already doing all those things, seriously, we can't thank you enough.
And like Amir said, that sounded a lot. It's because it is a lot. We have DFS coming your way. We have waiver wire pickups coming your way. We have stardom sit-ems coming your way. We have all these weekly segments that are about to kick off just this upcoming week. Okay, we are going to let that first weekend play out, and then starting the second week of September, all of our weekly segments are back. So if you are a DraftKings guy, if you are, or girl, if you're a DraftKings person, if you love, if you love, if you're struggling with who to start, if you're struggling with trade advice, we got you. That is our, weekly segments going forward. So do not feel afraid to reach out for advice, whether it be on YouTube comments as well. You don't have to just reach us out on social media. Just, comment on YouTube. I promise I check them at least, every other day. So we will see them. We will reach out to you. We will help you because God knows one of us is getting the trophy in any league we're in, and we want you to get that trophy as well. So as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening, and please stay safe, everyone.